Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with my regular Cuppa A Natter. I do this twice a month on a Monday evening. I am from England, so I like to give it that English theme. And in England, when we have a live chat, we have it with a cup of tea, and we always we call it a natter. So a live chat is a natter. So welcome to my show, a Cuppa and a Natter. And I like to bring authors into my home, and we talk about books, writing, what we're working on, whatever comes to mind. And tonight I'm joined with Frank Oliva. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you? Thank you, Tina. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm really excited.
I've been excited about talking to you, so I'm really excited about this. Before we get started, where are you from?
New York, Long Island, actually. So I've been here my whole life, with the exception of a couple of months that I lived in New York City. I mean, not too far from, where I usually reside, but I haven't lived in many places.
Okay, so you're born and bred on the East Coast.
Yep, that's it.
I've been to New York once when I was like 14. I would love to go back, but I was a tourist, so I saw all the touristy places, Statue of Liberty, World Trade Center.
Yeah.
That, but I haven't been back since. So maybe one day I'll make it back.
And well, you probably see more than me, because a lot of times we don't even bother to go see the touristy attractions. So
isn't that how it always is? Wherever you live, you don't. I mean, I used to live in Pasadena. It's famous for the Rose Parade. And the whole time I lived in Pasadena, I never once went to the Rose Parade. Not once. And I lived right on what is called Colorado Boulevard. And that's where the actual Rose Parade went. But I never once went. It took for me to move out of Pasadena to finally go see the Rose Parade.
To go back and go see that.
What I used to do was,
what happened to my family, we have relatives in Italy, and when they come, we take them to go see the things, and then therefore we end up seeing
and then you get to see it. Because what I used to do was I used to sell my parking space, because I was right on Colorado Boulevard, and I made sure I was working that day, and I got like $150 back then for my parking space.
That's funny.
So I really enjoyed that. Okay, so your book that we're going to talk about is called, all right, I had it written down. Okay, Walking Among the Trees.
Yes.
Okay, and this is your debut novel?
My debut, yep. Mm-hmm.
And the only one you've written, correct?
The only one I've written to date, yeah.
And when was it published?
So it was published in June of 21. I think it was end of June 22nd, I believe.
Of this year?
Of this year, of June 2021.
Congratulations. And I do understand you are going with a new publisher.
Yes. Well, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. I understand you're going with a new publisher. And when will it be published with the new publisher?
So that we're still working out the date, but it'll hopefully be either this year. It'll be this year, either spring or maybe a little bit later in the summer, or latest fall. We're just not sure yet. We're still working on it.
And I know that it's going to have a different cover.
Yes.
From the publisher, but can we see the copy of the one that is currently available? It is available on Amazon still.
It is, yeah. We're in the process of trying to get it out on Amazon, but it is still currently available.
Okay, I like the cover. Now I want to see the new cover.
Yeah, we're working on it.
And can you tell us a little bit about the book without giving too much away?
Yeah, so it's actually, it's funny. It's been described both as a horror and a thriller. I always thought of it as a psychological thriller / horror. So it is an exorcism tale. I like to get that out front because a lot of people make people nervous. So it's about an aging Catholic priest who's, he's in his 60s, sort of nearing the end of his life, kind of calming down and relaxing and not trying to ruffle too many feathers and things. And he is, by either a stroke of bad luck or fate, you kind of have to figure that out, approached by a young boy who claims his sister, who's very ill, is actually possessed by a demon. So yeah, him being a kind person, wants to help out, but he's reluctant. So his name is Father Kerrigan, Nathaniel Kerrigan. And I forgot to mention, he's also a Vietnam War vet who later became a priest. So even though he's not an expert in demonology or an exorcist, he goes to help the kid out. He suspected that the kid was wrong. It's probably just mental illness, but he finds out that the girl is in fact possessed, right? So then when he finds out, he brings the case to the bishop of his local parish, and he says, well, here, Bishop, here's a case of demonic possession. Let's find an exorcist to take care of this. So he assumed that him not being an expert, the bishop would just find someone else to do it, find an exorcist or an expert, right? To his dismay and surprise, the bishop says, sure, I'll find an exorcist, but I need you to be there. And that's when he panics. So the long story short is he's got a secret that he's hiding. And he's afraid that if he is there for the exorcism, the demon will call out his secret and sort of expose it to the world. So in order to avoid that, he calls on his old friend and mentor who's friends with the bishop to try and maybe talk sense out of the bishop. And so they meet in a secluded nature preserve. And, he tells the bishop, his friend, the story. He asks him to get him off the hook. And the friend says, well, let's take a walk through the trails in the woods. Right. And then that's kind of how the story unfolds. The friendly priest asks questions, and then you hear the answers, and there's some flashbacks and stuff like that. And so,
wow, sounds intriguing. Now, is this a standalone, or is it going to be a series?
So that's the thing. I always intended it for it to be a standalone.
I think we all do when we write our books.
There's like a nobility in it, right? You want to be the author that's not going to cash in on,
right,
needless sequels and making franchises out of things. So I intended it for it to be a standalone. What happened when people read it after it came out, a lot of them are asking for a follow-up. And I can understand why. I ended it a certain way, and I can understand that people are asking for more.
Right.
So as a compromise, I'm not going to write a direct sequel, but I've decided I'm going to try writing something in the same universe, but maybe you'll see some of the same characters in a different story as like secondary characters.
Right.
So I'm trying that now. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, I like that. So you'll introduce new characters too.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take a little break, and I want to say hi to a few of our readers that are joining us. I'm not sure if you can see them, but if you click on the comments at the left, right, you'll be able to see them. Top right.
Yes, now I do.
Okay. Yeah. So we got Peggy here and Darlene Johnson, Karen. They're all saying hello. Master Joe.
This is cool.
Let me see. If you have a question for Frank, go ahead and put it in the comments. I do have some questions from readers that left them in the group. I'm going to ask Frank those in a little bit. Leisha is here.
Hey, Leisha. I've seen her quite a few times.
Yeah.
I sent her a book, actually.
I'm sorry?
I sent her a book at one point, so she
wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Raider is here. Nancy Reed is here. Got a lot of people joining us. So don't forget, if you have questions for Frank, put them in the comments. I saw one up here I wanted to get to that I wanted you to see. It says, I just read a sentence of your book on Goodreads. It sounds really good. We'll be adding to my list.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
So she's obviously watching this in my group because this is Facebook user, which is a private group. So you need to click on the blue link above the video so I can see your name. If you're on my author page, it's public, so that doesn't matter. Frank, when we're going back to your book, it's called, again, I keep moving my Walk Among the Trees.
Yes.
Sorry. Walk Among the Trees. If you can hold the cover up one more time for our viewers that have just joined us. This is the cover. This cover will be changing. Frank is going with another publisher, and currently working on the new cover. But Frank, I've got to ask, because of what you told us about the book, what inspired this book?
Okay, so it's been a long gestation period. So when I was in my middle school years, I forget the age, I probably 16, 17, or maybe even 18. My family's Catholic, by the way, so they raised us Catholic and they took us to church most Sundays. I ended up being an altar server. So I got friendly with one of the priests there. And in the rectory that the church used, they actually would hire young kids out of school who were in school to man the phones and, kind of be a receptionist. So I ended up doing that, and I got close to one. I got even closer to the priest that I was friendly with from altar serving. And then around that time, You might remember this. I don't know if you've seen The Exorcist, though.
No, I do not know. I'm
Some
sorry.
people stay away. I understand. But it was re-released it was 2001, and it was re-released as like a new version.
Okay.
Kind of like before all these re-releases were popular, they re-released it. And I don't know how it came up, but I mentioned to the priest that I was going to see it. And he had seen the movie, and he was so excited to talk about it. So he told me once I saw it, once I went to see it, we would talk about it. And then after I saw it, we talked about it, and he just had so many insights and things I never would have expected. He told me some really scary stories too.
Oh wow.
That he wasn't involved in, but he knew of other priests. Okay. So anyway, since then, I've always wanted to write a story involving an exorcism and possession. I just didn't know quite how to do it. Then I got busy with law school and being an attorney, and so it just kind of didn't happen. And then, so this is the final piece. 2016, I think it was, there was a movie called Jackie that was about Jackie Kennedy, JFK.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I have heard of it. Yeah.
So it's a movie just about her and sort of how she processed the grief after JFK died. But there's a couple of scenes in the movie where she's walking a trail with trees, with a priest, and she's kind of like the priest is there to listen about her grief and to help her process it. And it was in that moment that there was a light bulb that went over my head. What if you have two priests, and there's a younger priest who's seeking the guidance of an older priest to process grief? And then that's how I connected it back to this idea of an exorcism. And it was kind of weird how it all came together, and that gave me enough to get started.
Okay. All right. And do you think you're going to, okay, I know you said that the next book will have some of the same characters in this book and new characters. Is it going to be another exorcism, the same kind of, I want to call it horror?
I think so, although I might make it more mysterious, more mystery oriented. I'm just not sure. I'm still trying to sort that out. But there will probably be an exorcism.
Here, isn't it? It's all processing up here.
Yes. I'm still in that stage where I'm trying to sort it out.
Right. And this is your debut novel. This is not your only job. You said you're an attorney also.
Yes, I'm an attorney, yep.
So this is something that you do when you're not.
Yeah.
When is that?
So that's the hard part, right? Because I'm sure you know how much time and effort goes into, you've written several books, right?
Oh, yeah. And I also, my daughter-in-law is an attorney. So I know the hours you work too.
Yes. So that was the challenge, right? So I would do it on the train. Sometimes I would commute back and forth to the city. So on the way back, sometimes I'd ride on the train. Or what I would do is I use the train period, the commute as a break. And then when I get home, I take a shower. And then after that, write, even if it was just for an hour, and then go to sleep. Yeah. And then, so I also had twins during my wife gave during the writing process. So that was another thing. So then what I would do is on the weekends, write while they were napping, even if it was for an hour. So it was kind of like grabbing whatever.
Just juggling.
Yes.
Juggling everything. And how old are your twins now?
They're going to be 4 in February. So 3 1/4.
Wow. Congratulations. I don't know how you do it.
It took about 4 years though. So it did take a while to get the book.
Yeah. My debut novel took at least 15, at least. Yeah. So I totally understand, but my hat's off to you. And the one you just started, the next book.
Yes.
I'm not going to say how much of you've written, but how long do you think it'll be for you to write this one?
So it's funny, I'm not sure, because I don't know if how long the first one took was also kind of inexperience and being the first time. So I've only written a couple of pages. I literally just started last 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow! So you
really just started. But I will say that the first couple of pages went a lot more smoothly than I had thought, and I think maybe I was building up in my mind a little bit too much that it was going to be hard. It seemed a little bit easier than it might have in the past. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Do you plot your book like the last one? Did you have it all plotted out? Did you know how it was going to end, or are you a panster where you just sit down and just wait? I wait.
I do too. The only thing I will say, so I didn't plot it at all.
Okay.
The only thing I kind of knew was I knew about certain scenes and then where they were going to be roughly. But really, no, it was kind of just the idea and then taking it and just see where it went. I mean, it worked for me this time.
That's, yeah.
You know, I guess it works for you, it sounds like, too.
Yeah, I tried to plot book 2 in one of my series. I had it all figured out in my head, and it went in totally the opposite direction. Yeah, and the character that I had plans for just pretty much told me, no, I would never do that. So I'm like, fine, what would you do? Basically. And it went in, and I just, after that, I said, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time. For me, it works just to sit down and I just pretty much just wait like you and see what happens. Do you know, okay, a question from one of the readers in my group asked, Vicky Vassetti, she asked, do you know the ending of your book before you start writing it? Like the one you just wrote or the one you just started?
So for Walking Among the Trees, I did have an ending in mind, but it ended up changing a little bit. So I did kind of know the beginning, a little bit about the middle, and like I said, 1 or 2 scenes here and there, and then sort of like what the ending was going to be. But once I got there, it changed. And actually, you might find this interesting. It changed between drafts too. So the first draft had one ending. And then I had an idea in between the first and second drafts about how to maybe add a little bit of a twist to it. And so that ended up being in the final version. So it was always a fluid process.
Yeah, there was one of mine, I can't remember for the life of me which one it was, but there was one of mine that had 3 different endings.
Oh, really? And you had to choose?
Yeah, and I had to choose. And then what I ended up doing was I ended up reading the last 4 chapters of the book out loud. And the one that resonated the most and felt like everything was like neatly tied until the next book came out is the one I went with. And like for the life of me, it was in the Sabella series, but it might have been book 3, which was Claire. And I think it was like it had 3 different endings. And it was, that's never happened before. And each one did fit, but they were completely different in how it ended.
Interesting.
It was really strange. And then another thing that was strange that happened to me is I write my own blurbs. I'm not sure if you do.
I wrote it for this one. I did write it.
I hate it. For me, it's the part of the book that I can't stand. I'll take editing. I'll take marketing. Blurbs, I just don't like, because to condense, an 80,000 word manuscript into 200 words,
so
drives me crazy without giving too much away.
Right.
In one of my books, I spent, half a day writing this blurb, and I wasn't happy with it, but I was kind of going to go with it. But then out of nowhere, this other version of the blurb hit me, and I wrote it in 30 minutes, and it's the one I did.
It works. That's funny.
Yeah, so it's weird how our writing goes. Now, do you think you'll ever have this to be a full-time? I mean, you're putting so much into your attorney career.
I have.
You're juggling 2 full-time careers.
I am. I mean, I would love that. I think I would really love it. And it's always been the dream. The funny thing, though, is I do like my career, and I'm sort of on a big case now that it's been going on for a while. I could see myself, if I was able to make it, financially feasible, being happy switching over. I mean, I would do it now if the opportunity. I mean, who am I kidding? But I don't mind my career at the moment either, if that makes sense. So I'm like,
no, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated how you find the time. You've had 1 book written, you started another one, and you're a family man with 2 twins and full-time attorney job, which is more than an 8-hour day. I know that. And when you said you write some on the train, the first thing that came to mind was Harry Potter. She wrote her first book on the train, which she wrote it on the train. I do want to say hi to a few more people.
Sure.
Let's see who we got joining us. And I'm going to ask you some of these questions from the readers of the group. Karen was asking, what are your hobbies?
So video games is one, a big one.
Okay.
Yeah. Big gamer. I have PlayStation, I have Xbox, I have the Nintendo Switch, I have all that stuff.
You sound like my son.
I've always been this way, so that's that's probably my biggest hobby. I like movies for sure, movies and shows,
Mm-hmm.
and reading obviously too.
Right.
I like to read when I have time.
Do you have? Do you read? That was another question from a reader in the group. She asked, "Do you?" It was Darlene Johnson. She asked, "Do you like reading the same type of books you write?"
Yes and no. So I will read Stephen King. I've always been a big fan of Stephen King, but lately I found myself reading more political fiction, nonfiction books for some reason. I just become more interested in history, so I find that stuff really interesting too. And then I like thrillers. I like mysteries, science fiction sometimes too.
Okay, that's my dad was a sci-fi writer.
Yeah, I saw that. A famous, really cool.
Yeah, and he actually wrote for 3 years. I got his first 3 books published, and then after that, he was able to write full time. So you never know. You never know. You never know.
You never know.
There's another question. Barbara Miller. I like this question from Barbara Miller. She left it in my group. She says, "Do your characters ever interrupt your sleep, meals, etc., or do they argue with you?"
So what was my sleep?
Do your characters in your books ever interrupt your sleep or meals?
Got it.
And do they ever argue with you?
Let's see. Interrupt my sleep or meals. Well, I will say when I go to bed at night, I'll ruminate about whatever I'm writing at that time in my mind as I'm trying to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So I guess in that sense, yes, but I've never been woken up by any of them, I don't think. And then meals, I guess same thing, because sometimes I'll find so I guess instead of plotting on paper, sometimes I feel like I'm just ruminating
in your mind.
Yeah, and maybe that's happened at meals. It happens during the day. It could be any time that happens.
And so is your family supportive of your writing? Have they read the book?
Yes, they have. And my wife, God bless her, she's very supportive. So part of the writing at night and anytime I get a chance meant sacrificing some of the time we would otherwise spend together. So no, she's been very supportive, thankfully. She knows it's important to me. And I think she knows also that I'm supportive of a couple of her endeavors too. So it works out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
What would you, you are a new author.
Yes.
This is your debut novel, which I think is fantastic. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
I don't know is there something you would do different on the second book that you did on the first book? What kind of lessons have you learned? Because it's not easy getting a book published, as we both know. But there's also, I'm on book number 8 or 9, and there's still mistakes I'm making, or there's still lessons I'm learning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for me, what I continue to try and improve is the marketing. I'm not sure how your publisher helps you with your marketing, but I'm self-published.
Yeah.
For me, it works. That's what I chose to do. But of course, I have to do all the marketing. And for me, other than writing a blurb, my second hateful thing about writing books is the marketing.
Marketing, yeah.
So looking at your first book, your debut novel, what are you doing different on this book, or will do different that you want to share?
Well, I will say, I had to do a lot of marketing myself anyway, too. Mm-hmm. I learned that pretty early on. But I'm still learning a ton about marketing. So I think the approach will should be different if I get to the same stage with this book. And hopefully by then I'll have learned even more.
Right.
So that's one thing. I wonder, in the writing process, what did I learn? You know what I probably did too much on the first book was I couldn't resist the temptation to edit what I'd written the night before or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever I wrote. When I go to sit down and write again, I would spend the first 45 minutes
cleaning up what you just wrote.
Yeah, and I think that's I don't know if that's really that useful. I feel like
I don't think it. For me, I did that, and now what I do is I'll reread the last chapter that I wrote, say the day before, just to get me back into the storyline and the characters, whatever.
That's helpful, right?
And what helped me, and it was someone gave me the advice. They said, just read it. Don't look at mistakes. Don't make any changes. Just read it and tell yourself you go back to it later. Because
Yeah,
once you start editing, you just keep going and you keep going. And then you start making changes and you start changing paragraphs. And before you know it, you just edited, 4 chapters.
yeah. And then that time that you could have, if time is rare, you could have spent that, getting another.
Yeah, get the story down, get the first draft down. And someone also told me it doesn't matter how messy it is, doesn't matter if a sentence doesn't fit your narrative right now, just get the story, in some kind of block or whatever you want to call it. And someone said, getting the first draft is telling you how the story is going to unfold.
Right.
That is for your benefit.
Right.
Then after that, you go back and make all your cleanups, your editing, make your changes. On your first book, how many drafts did you write?
So it was at least, I want to say, it got a little sloppy sometimes because sometimes I would edit and maybe not really fully redo a draft, but at least 4 drafts. So 1, 2, 3, 3 of them on my own, and then I'm counting the editing with the publishers.
Right. And before you said it, what helped me too is another thing that helped me is reading out loud. That really helped a lot. And I've only been doing that for the last maybe 3 books.
Okay.
I hadn't done it before that, but now it's huge. For me, it's huge. That I highly recommend.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe, because what I picked up when I was reading out loud is how much I repeated myself.
I guess that helps you see that.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
My editor picked up a lot of that, the same phrases. Yeah. You don't really notice it until
you don't when you're reading to yourself, but when you actually read out loud, you go, wait a minute, didn't I just say that like 2 chapters ago? And you actually remember it better because you read it out loud. It's just like you're in a conversation and you remember repeating something to somebody you're talking to.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's something that you might want to keep in mind too. It really helps me a lot. It does. Bambi has a question for you.
Sure.
What do you do to get inside your characters' heads?
Okay, so that's a good question. For this one, well, it's a priest, right? So I had to do a little bit of research, but I think I had an advantage a little bit in the sense that I spent so much time around priests when I was younger. And one of the things I learned about them was that they're regular people. I mean, so I kind of saw them behind the scenes. Once I got to when I was working at the rectory, I saw them behind the scenes. That was their home, basically, because they lived there. Like the front of the building, it was a separate building from the church, and the front of the building was where the people would come in. So there was a desk, and it was all fancy and businesslike. But the back side of that building was their residence. So they had a kitchen, they had their beds, and when someone would call, and sometimes I'd have to walk back into their residence area, and I'd hear them, cursing. They pick up if I tell them who it was on the phone, they're like, shit, that person. Like, I don't feel like talking to him right now. So I learned that they're very human. So I was able to incorporate those things that I saw into the character. But definitely a little bit more research too. And then part of the book is about the fact that the main character is a Vietnam War vet. So I had to research that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To make sure I got those things right. So research definitely helps.
Definitely helps a lot. Do you think you'll write any other genre? Do you like this genre that you're writing, the mystery thriller? Well, you mentioned mystery.
Yeah.
Maybe more mystery, like a murder mystery?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe it would still be a horror thriller, but maybe incorporating some murder mystery elements to it.
I like that.
But I don't, it's funny. I know you're supposed to kind of, or at least if you read certain guides, they tell you to pick a genre, at least in the beginning. I feel like I'm just going to write whatever I want. I mean, I guess if I get an agent and they tell me I have to stick with something I'll do what they tell me. But as of right now, I'm just going to write what I want, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the best approach.
Yeah.
Because I think when we write what we want or what we like, it's more real and it comes from the heart versus being told, well, you just write science fiction. That's all you can say. Yeah. That's all you can write. And my dad had an issue with that. He wrote science fiction and he kept telling his publisher, I want to get into mainstream. I want to jump over and jump. And they told him no.
They told him
You
no.
are known as a science fiction writer. You got to stick with it. And it kind of, frustrated him because he wanted to go into other genres and he never did. So I think it's good to, if you can, and I think readers like the mix too. Am I right, readers? Let us know if you would like an author to stick to one genre, or, they like me, I write women's fiction and I write sizzling romances. So, I mean, they're kind of, in the same genre.
Close.
One is not sizzling and one is. So, and I was thinking about writing a mystery too. But I'm curious to hear from the readers that are joining us tonight. Let us know what you think about an author not sticking to one genre. Would you prefer it that he or she, sticks to one genre, or are you okay, or would you like an author to write more than one genre? Like, here's Lisa's putting her idea. She says, to me, whatever the author wants to write is fine. I love getting feedback from readers because it helps us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then Ruth is saying, I think you should write what makes you happy.
Good advice.
See? And you have switching between genres is fine with me. It gives us more to look forward to. And I think it also shows the ability of an author is able to write more than one genre.
Yeah, versatility.
It shows your craft, expanding. Just like you go to a bakery, they don't just have one cake. They
Right.
have two cakes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And even, so one of the authors I like to read, Stephen King, I mean, he's written, the scariest things that we know about, but he's also written Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me, he's there. I don't see, I mean, he's super successful, but.
Yeah. And then James Patterson, he started writing thrillers and now he writes for teenagers.
Right.
So I think it's totally acceptable. I really do. What I do want to do, if you want to hold up the book one more time,
sure.
I'm going to read the description that's on Amazon. This is Walking Among the Trees by Frank Oliva. This is the edition that is on Amazon. The cover, you said, is going to change.
Yes.
But I am going to read the description if my phone will cooperate with me. Give me a minute. Okay, here we go. Of the book, and give our readers an idea what the book is about. So here we go. After notifying the bishop that a young girl possessed by an invisible demon must be exorcised immediately, Father I should have looked at these names before I read. Father Nathaniel Kerrigan is shocked when the bishop insists he perform the ritual. Panicked, Kerrigan calls on his old friend and trusted mentor, Monsieur Carmichael, to convince the bishop he should use another priest instead. But when Kerrigan claims he wants out because he has no experience with the preternatural, Carmichael fears there is much more at stake than Kerrigan's letting on. As Carmichael drags Kerrigan on a dark and painful journey through a secluded nature preserve, it soon becomes clear that the real reason Kerrigan is so desperate to avoid the confrontation is that the demon inside the girl has a window into his hidden past. Ooh. Ooh, intriguing. Now, would that description change with the new edition?
We haven't talked about it. I did get feedback from one reader that said it gave away too much, though. So I want to.
Oh, the one I just read?
Yeah. So one reader told me that.
Really? I thought it was.
It's my opinion, so I don't know, but I try to listen to these things.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to a writer just starting out? Going to write the first book, not published yet. From your experience, having your debut novel recently published, what advice would you give to aspiring writers, authors?
So I guess the biggest thing that I learned was just to do it. And what I mean by that was, obviously my case is a bit extreme where I really don't have a lot of time compared to most people.
Right.
But I think even when I had more time, I believed I didn't have time. And what I learned was there was time. If you really want to do it, you'll find the time. So just do it. Even if it's just a little bit a day, and then those days add up,
They do.
They add up, and before you know it, you've got 50,000 words and you hit 60. So you just got to do it. Sit down and do it. I think we're sometimes our own worst enemies that way. We want to for a good
Well,
time.
they say that a writer will find every excuse not to write.
Exactly, and it was true for me. Very true for me.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. And now, my readers know that, and I don't do it every time, and I get angry at myself when it doesn't happen. But I try and discipline myself to write 1,000 words a day.
That's good.
That's what I try and do, but it doesn't happen every day. Life gets in the way, like
Yes. Yeah.
But if I just get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and if the house is quiet, I'll write maybe 100 words, go about my day. Maybe I'll have another 20 minutes in the afternoon, and I'll write another 100 words. So at the end of the day, I have 800 to write before I go to bed. And my day is not over with until those 800 are written. But if it doesn't, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I give it my best. And, weekends, I don't discipline myself. Weekends, I tend to, if I have, something I want to write, or if the characters are talking to me, then great, I'll sit down and try writing. But Monday through Friday, I just try and discipline that, because when the first book took 10 years, 15 years to write, I said, the next book is not going to take that.
You're right. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
And I feel the same way. I don't want to take 4 years doing the same project. If I can, I will.
No. And I was anxious. The Sabella series, I have a book coming out in, I want to say late December, early January, depending how the editing goes. I honestly thought that was going to be the last book in a 5-book series. And I was kind of excited to start another series. But I was also kind of sad that this series is going to end, because I've gotten to know the characters. My readers have gotten to know the characters. And I honestly kept telling my readers, this is the final book. Well, halfway through writing what I thought was the final book, my character telling me, nope, we've got more to say. So I'm excited that I can comfortably say there is going to be 3 more books.
Wow.
So, and I think after that, it will be a wrap, because I love the series. I love the characters, but I'm anxious to start something new.
Yeah.
Something fresh.
Makes sense.
With the book you're writing now, you say that that you're going to have characters continue on from the first book.
Yep.
But you don't know if there'll be another book after that one. It's way too early.
It's way too early. Yeah, it's way too early. I can't see that far ahead.
And you don't have any kind of publication date for this one that you write. You just don't.
No. It's just something I just started on my own. I mentioned it to my publisher that I was doing it, but that's the extent of the discussion.
Okay, well, you got to keep us posted on that.
I will.
When it's ready to publish, or you have a publishing date, let us know. We'll have you back on.
Thank you.
This is a good question from Karen. What genres won't you write or read?
I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that question. I haven't, to be honest, and I know you write romance, Tina. I haven't read many of those. But to say I would never, that's kind of hard. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I hate the word never, because you just...
Never say never.
Never say never?
Yeah. See, for me, I love historical fiction. I love reading historical fiction, a lot of it World War II. But I shouldn't say never, but I could never... I can't. Let's say that. I can't see myself writing it. And the reason why is because the research scares me.
Yeah, that's a good... that probably applies to me too. Actually, now that I think about it.
I love reading it, but I know of a few authors that write World War II, and they said that the research is, because if they get one little thing wrong, they're going to hear about it.
That's the issue. And with social media too, people can spread that very quickly. If you get something wrong, it's all over.
Yeah, and there goes your reputation for being a historical fiction writer. Well, even though it's fiction, you're still using World War II, and even could be like a pair of shoes or some kind of phrase that they say nowadays that they would never say back in the 40s. And people will pick up on that. So for me, I'll read historical fiction, but don't ever expect me to write it. It would terrify me. I'd be like, pins and needles.
I'll put that in my category for me too. I don't think I'll ever write historical fiction.
Yeah, I love the genre. You're in New York. Let's go back to you as a person and not just an author. And you're an attorney. You live in New York. Do you travel at all, whether it be business or pleasure?
A little bit of business that might pick up because the case I'm working on is getting busier, and things have been opening up as far as the pandemic goes. Travel to Europe has been possible lately. I think some of my colleagues have. And then with my family, yeah, we like to travel. I mean, we didn't do it because of COVID, and also when the kids were first born, we didn't go very many places. But we've been to Florida. My wife and I, before we had kids, we've been to quite a few places. A lot of tropical places. Bora Bora. We went for our honeymoon.
Nice.
Oh, it was gorgeous. We've gone to Punta Cana. We've gone to Jamaica. We've been trying to travel in the United States now too, because there's a lot of places that are really cool in the United States that people don't think of. Like we went to Arizona for a trip, and that was just like mind-blowingly beautiful. So there was that. So yeah, so we're hoping to be able to travel more soon. Hopefully,
right, with everything starting to open up. My husband and I, we want to take a road trip. We're talking about, like you said, the States. There's so many beautiful places in the States that we just want to see.
Yeah.
We want to take like 3 months off, rent an RV and just go travel.
It sounds fantastic. That sounds like such a great idea.
And I can write a book anywhere. So I can get up early in the morning and go sit outside and do some writing, and then the rest of the day are ours. But that's what we want to plan to do like in 3 years.
All right.
Not one thing. Hopefully everything is opened up more and people are, so paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to give it a few more years. But is there a favorite place that you've traveled to that you maybe want to revisit, or just stuck with you?
I have to say that Arizona, the Sedona Desert, that place, I don't know, I felt the connection there. I know a lot of people say that, and there's weird energies that people talk about, but it was just one of the most peaceful places that I've seen in my life. So that's a favorite for sure.
I love the Grand Canyon. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, that was a good one too. We saw that in the same trip.
And then another one that's amazing is the Valley of Fire. If you ever in Nevada.
I've never been there, but
oh my God, it's like 40 minutes out of Las Vegas. And my sister comes from England every year. So she visits us from England, except for COVID. She hasn't been here in a couple of years, but the last time she came, I had to take her to Vegas. But her favorite time on the whole trip was Valley of Fire.
Really?
So if you're ever in Nevada, put that on your places to visit. I highly recommend it. I really do. Hold on one second. Let me see. What's this? So basically, you need to be disciplined to be a writer.
Oh
yeah. You do.
Oh yeah. It's like anything else. I mean, it's something that you do for fun, but it's still a pain in the ass. Excuse me. It really is.
I mean, I don't try and force myself to write, because I think if I force myself to write, it's not my best writing.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's just not my best. And I see it. I've sat down. I said, I got to get this done. I just got to get this down. And it seems that the sentences are more short, and I can actually feel my frustration in my writing. The words I'm using, you can just tell this person's frustrated. So for me, I don't try and force it, but what works for me is I'll ease my way in. If I've only written like a couple of hundred words in the day and it's already like 9 o'clock at night, I'll ease my way in and I'll just start reading what I'd written like a few days before, get me back into the story. And all of a sudden, okay, I can do this.
It's like going to the gym too. It's almost like once you get there, you can do it, but just getting there can be
there. That's the hard part, just sitting down and putting yourself in that mode. I admire you for writing on a plane. For me, I need peace and quiet.
Yeah, I prefer it too. I really do. So that wasn't the best place to do it for sure.
But still, you have limited time, so I can see why you would, like you said, an hour here, an hour there.
Yeah.
I have once in a while before COVID, I did like coffee house. I was able to work right in a coffee house, in a coffee shop. And I thought it wouldn't bother me, but earplugs, amazing.
Yeah.
Just zoned everybody out. It was pretty cool. I'd never done that before, and I gave it a try, and I enjoyed it.
All right. Different scenery.
What's that?
Different scenery, nice. Yeah, get out of the same usual spot.
Yeah, I need it once. I mean, I work from home. I have different places to write. So at home, do you have a writing area that you have, or do you basically do it on the road?
I have an office. I mean, it's also the same office I use for career. So that could be a little, sometimes it's kind of annoying because you're in the same spot all day and then on the weekends too. But I can deal with it. Well, I got a visitor. My son.
That's okay. That's okay.
Hey, Michael. I'm just going to close the door real quick, buddy, okay?
My dogs will visit me sometimes, and I'm really surprised they're not at my feet right now because of this time change.
Oh, yeah.
I feed them at 6, and, it's 10 minutes to 6, but in their mind, it's 10 minutes to 7.
Right. Just look at these.
And I've had my Jack Russell bark at my feet live, so that's what.
Oh, yeah. On Zooms for work, too. But everybody at this point expects it. It's like, no big deal. Yeah,
exactly. If you have any questions, we are going to be wrapping this up soon. I am just fascinated that you're able to do this, being an attorney full time and twins. My older sisters are twins too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, are they identical, your kids?
No, so it's a boy and girl.
Actually. It's a boy and girl, and they're 4 years old. Yeah, my older sisters, they were identical twins when we were growing up. They were identical, but one lives in America, one lives in England. They've been that way for 30 plus years. So now you wouldn't even believe they were sisters.
Really?
Yeah, they are completely different. Debbie, the one here in the States, has an American accent.
Yeah.
She's been here since she was 14. And the other one has been in England. In fact, she still lives where we grew up. And she has a prim and proper accent, and I can't understand the words she says.
That's interesting now.
So they've been brought up in totally different cultures.
Yeah.
And if we stand side by side now, for me, they don't look like sisters. There's certain characters that they have. They do walk the same.
Okay.
And they do have the same smile, but other than that.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that some traits survive despite the totally different environments, too. Like you said, the walking. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I love the age, 4 years old. I love that age.
It's a lot of fun, but my God, they don't stop.
Do they like books? Do you read to them?
We try to. Lately, I have to say, the past couple of months, they don't seem to have as much patience at night. But they're always like up and down with them. They're always changing. So we're going to continue to try and keep that going. Yeah,
it is tough. When you read a book, I wanted to ask you: do you like the physical books, or are you a Kindle or not necessarily a Kindle, but do you read electronic books, or do you like the real book?
A little bit of both. So I prefer the real book, but I will say that being able to read anywhere at any time is kind of nice too. So sometimes I don't mind having a book on my phone. So if I'm waiting somewhere, I could just pull out my phone and
the convenience of it.
So that part I like, but again, I always prefer the hard copy book.
Yeah, me too. And what I miss personally, I love bookshelves. I have bookshelves in my home.
Me too. Yeah.
But there's so many places I go to. There's no longer any bookshelves.
I know.
And it's like, how sad is that?
Very sad.
Usually back in the day, I would go straight to a bookshelf and I can find out everything I want to know about that person.
That's right. That's true.
I do miss seeing bookshelves, and they were also like a focal point. You go to someone's home, and it's a conversational piece. But now, there's many homes I go to, and it's like, where are your books?
Yeah, I know it's changing.
Yeah. Do your children read real books, or do they have electronics?
We have the hard copy books for them. Yeah, so we're gonna keep that up. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's. I guess I'm hearing that kids still are raised on real books versus tablet or something.
I think so, but our kids want to use the tablets. We tried to avoid that as long as we could, and we control it a lot, but they're attracted to that stuff.
Yeah. I have a 5-year-old grandson, and he knows more about my phone than I do.
Oh yeah, I know. Forget about it. They're going to be experts.
And my son's really good. He says they can be an hour on the tablet, and then that's it. He puts them up.
That's good. That's good.
Up here we have a tablet, and the eldest, which is 10 or 11, if I don't pull it away, he'll be on it all day.
Yeah, he'll be on it.
I'm going to be guilty. I'm in the middle of doing something. Okay, great. He's on the tablet. Done.
Yeah.
So I'm just as guilty for letting him, be on that tablet, because that way I can get stuff done.
Right. But I guess for our parents, it was the television. So, they dealt with it to an extent too, right? Now we have the television and the tablets. It's really difficult. It's really good.
It is. And for me, I like the physical books because it takes me away from this.
Yes.
The plastic screen. And I like turning the pages. But the convenience, like you said, pulling out your book on the Kindle is the convenience of it.
That's what it is, yeah.
So it's, it's changing times. But Oliver, this has been so much fun.
Thank you. This has been great.
Really enjoying this, but I do want to talk about the giveaway.
Sure.
I'm going to hand it over to you, and you let the readers know what you're giving away. And then I have a couple of giveaways too that I do every time. So I'm
giving away this, a hard copy of Walking Among the Trees. And this version won't be available anymore. So
that's it.
Yeah.
That is the first edition.
Yeah.
And then the one that will be coming out, of course, will be the second edition, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we're going to be calling it. Me and my publisher has still got to work that out. She, the one who owns it, I don't think she wants to call it a second edition. I'm not sure how that works, but.
Well, with mine, because my debut novel went with the publisher. So I didn't have the rights to it for 2 years.
That's right. I remember seeing your post today.
So when I got the rights back, I did have to change the cover, but I could keep the model. So I was able to keep the model, but I had to change the color, the font, whatever. But I did have to publish it as a second edition.
You did have to publish it.
I did, but I'm not sure if that's universal. Don't go by what I had to do. I don't know. But I did have to put it as a second edition and also remove, well, of course, the publisher is no longer the publisher. And then I put my company, Tina Grant Books, as the publisher.
Got it.
So that's how it worked. That's what I had to do. So the publisher will know.
Yeah. We're going to figure that stuff out.
Yeah. This question. Are you going to have a say on your new book cover?
Yes, I'm involved in the process. Yep, it's been collaborative for sure.
It has?
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. We're still working on it, but we'll get there.
Oh, good. Excellent. Okay, so Frank is going to be giving away a copy of his hard book. It is going to be in the U.S. only. Unfortunately, to ship a book anywhere else is just ridiculous. It's just insane, even Canada. And Frank has asked me to pick the winner, so I will pick a winner in a couple of hours, and that will be signed and mailed by you. Is that
yes. Yeah, I'm going to sign it, and I'll mail it too.
Okay, and what I can do is I will text you the winner, and then I'll also ask the winner to text you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Then I also like to do a couple of giveaways too, and I always give away a box of tea bags from Yorkshire.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So someone's going to get a box of Yorkshire tea. This is what I drink all the time. I don't drink anything else. This is my tea. So someone is going to get this. And then from my author page, if you share this video, you will be in a drawing for a $5 Amazon gift card. But you have to share this video from my author page. Let people know about Frank. Let people know about the interview. And if you could tag me on your share, then that way I know you shared and you'll be in the drawing. So there we go. Frank, this has been so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's been awesome.
And good luck with the second edition, whatever the books have to be. And keep us posted on your new book.
I will.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.